The scene is dark, filmed with a cell phone. Under a broken bridge in southern Iran, a flashlight sweeps over the rubble and stops on top of a crushed car. And the voice of the person filming asks once, twice, "Is there someone inside the car?" This bridge was on one of the roads that connect Bandar Abbas, the largest port in Iran, to the rest of the country. And it was just one. That same night, according to Iranian state media, at least 6 bridges were hit by American missiles. Iran is being shut down, road by road, bridge by bridge. But the target that explains everything that's happened this week isn't any bridge. It's 3 islands that most of the world has never heard of. 3 rocks in the middle of the sea that, together, add up to 25 square kilometers. Less than a neighborhood in a big city. And here is what makes this story different from anything we've ever told about this war. In almost 50 years of conflict, the United States has tried everything against Iran. Except for one thing, they never took a piece of its territory. That rule lasted for half a century, and this week it started being broken. And the place chosen to break that rule is exactly these 3 rocks. So, the question that holds this entire video together is, what is on these 3 islands that is worth breaking a 50-year-old rule? But first, you need to see the scale of the destruction around them. During the day, the destruction becomes even clearer. On the Khorasan Bridge, trucks pile up with nowhere to go. At the bottom of the crater, a completely charred car. An entire section of the road simply doesn't exist anymore. And people manage however they can. Look at these images. Cars and trucks are taking detours on makeshift dirt trails, crossing the dry riverbed, kicking up dust because the real road is gone. On another road, the one that connects Bandar Abbas to the west of the province, the fire was still burning on the road when someone filmed it. The route was cut off in both directions. And, according to the person narrating the footage, a truck driver died there. There was even a fuel tanker that exploded on top of a bridge, hit right in the middle by a missile. The driver did not survive. And the voice of the person filming repeats a single warning. No one get on the bridge. 7 consecutive nights of attacks. That's what U.S. Central Command, the headquarters running the war, has confirmed so far. And the released images show the missiles launching from the ships, lighting up the dark waters of the Gulf. The objective is visible on the map. To cut off Bandar Abbas, the port that supplies Iran, from the roads that lead to the rest of the country. To surround the port by land the way they've already surrounded it by sea. But in the middle of this whole campaign, there was a break from that pattern. On July 15th, the American fighter jets did something they hadn't done in this campaign. They attacked in broad daylight. It was 90 minutes of bombing against an island called Grande Tumbi, using, according to Central Command, bunker-busting bombs weighing over 2 tons, made to reach cruise missile bunkers dug into the rock. And in a statement about a 5-hour campaign of attacks, Central Command listed the targets: Bushehr, Chabahar, Jask, Bandar Abbas, and an island called Abu Musa. Bridges, ports, cities, and islands. And that's where things get weird. Bridges and ports, everyone understands why they're targets. But now, 3 rocks in the middle of the sea? Why are the Americans using bombs on that? The answer starts in 1971. That year, 2 days before the United Arab Emirates existed as a country, the Iranian Navy seized the 3 islands by force: Abu Musa, Greater Tumb, and Lesser Tumb. The Emirates still claim ownership to this day. Iran never returned them. And they didn't return them for one reason: the location. The three are located at the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, practically right on the route through which a fifth of all the planet's oil and gas passes. In the following decades, the Revolutionary Guard turned the islands into fortresses. Anti-ship missiles aimed at the route, air defense systems, radars, swarms of fast boats ready to surround any passing ship, and, according to U.S. Central Command, a vast network of underground bunkers. In other words, the island is hollow inside, like the mountain we showed in the last video. In Abu Musa, the largest of them, there's even a small civilian village, a facade around a military base. The Iranian officers themselves have a nickname for the islands: stationary and unsinkable aircraft carriers. And think about what that means. The newest aircraft carrier in the United States, the Gerald Ford, costs $13 billion and can be sunk. These three islands cost almost nothing, and they don't sink. Even China is studying these rocks. Researchers from a Chinese university mapped 7 Iranian islands as Iran's defensive arc over the strait. And the 3 from our story are at the center of this map. If you're starting to understand why 3 rocks are worth more than an entire fleet, subscribe to the channel because this story will still have more chapters. Now, here's the question. With the Iranian Navy at the bottom of the sea, what do these islands still actually do? And the answer lies in a number that doesn't add up. Last Thursday, according to maritime tracking data, only 8 ships crossed the Strait of Hormuz, the lowest traffic in 3 weeks. And out of the 8, 7 used the route operated by Iran. None used the route on the Oman side. Stop and think about that. The United States sank the Iranian Navy, declared a blockade, and proclaimed themselves the guardians of the strait. And even so, almost every ship that passes still obeys Iran. Why? Because sinking a ship doesn't change geography. The islands are still there, right on the route, watching everything that passes by. If you can see it, you can aim at it. Whoever has you in their sights can charge you. And that's exactly what the Americans started to dismantle. Look at this image released by U.S. Central Command itself. A watchtower at the port of Chabahar that, according to the Americans, the Revolutionary Guard used to monitor and target ships in the region. A flash and the tower is gone. The United States is gouging out Iran's eyes, one by one. Now, notice something few people paid attention to. Notice the order of events. First, the Americans sank the Navy, including the Soleimani-class ships, the naval pride of the regime. Then, they sealed off the ports with the blockade. And the first 2 ships that tried to break the blockade were intercepted and forced to turn back. Then, they surrounded the nuclear site in the mountain. The islands weren't left for last by accident. They were the most protected piece on the board. And now, there's nothing left to protect them. It was in this scenario that the big wave came on the 15th. Command centers, air defense, missiles, drones, coastal surveillance. All on the same night. All released on video by Central Command itself. But the takedown of the islands started earlier. And it started at the top. In March, an Israeli airstrike hit a meeting of commanders in Bandar Abbas. Inside was Admiral Alireza Tangsiri, the head of the Revolutionary Guard Navy. And, according to the Israelis, the entire naval leadership was with him, including the head of intelligence. The Israeli defense minister announced the death with these words: "The man directly responsible for mining and blocking the strait was blown up and eliminated." And there's a detail in this story that seems like something out of a movie script. A year before he died, Tangsiri had publicly declared his strategy. Our tactical approach dictates that we must arm and operationalize this group of islands. The man who armed the islands was hunted down and killed. And now the hangars, the depots, and the bunkers he fortified are being destroyed, one by one. The fortresses are now orphaned. And an American military analyst, a former Navy captain, recognized the pattern of these bombings. It's exactly the kind of attack that's carried out before an amphibious invasion. And this is where the story reaches the present, and what could happen at any moment. According to American authorities, the option of sending ground troops to take the islands is available to Trump. And the pieces are already in position. The American assault ship Tripoli arrived in the region with 3,500 Marines and sailors and F-35 fighter jets on deck. The ship Boxer brought another 2,500, not to mention the elite U.S. Army paratroopers, elements of the famous 82nd Airborne Division. Almost 7,000 extra men trained exactly for this, to come ashore from the sea and seize territory. If that order is given, it will be the first time in history that the United States takes, in combat, a piece of Iranian soil. But knowing that, a question arises. Why hasn't the order been given yet? And the United States learned the answer to that question the hard way. Because taking is the easy part. Holding on is the problem. The islands are about 70 kilometers off the coast of Iran. Any occupying force, analysts say, would be around 2,000 men. It would be stuck on a rock within range of drones and ballistic missiles fired from the mainland. The Americans know that. That's why the pattern repeats. Just like on the mountain, when the strike comes, it will come all at once. To finish the job. And Iran? Well, Iran reacted in the only way it still can.
Look
at this scene. A uniformed officer of the Revolutionary Guard at a podium, reading a statement addressed to neighboring countries. The message: the time for restraint is over. The politicians and military personnel of the Gulf would be, in his words, under fire day and night. Days later, the Guard went even further. It threatened to cut off energy exports from the entire region with an official statement. The export of oil and gas from the region will be for everyone or for no one. And it didn't stop at the threat. Iranian missiles were fired at Qatar, precisely the country that was mediating peace, and also against Kuwait, where a desalination plant was damaged. In other words, it put the water supply of a country in the middle of the desert at risk. Notice the pattern because it's the same as in our last two videos. Whoever is in control doesn't threaten the neighbors, doesn't attack the mediator, doesn't target the water supply of people who aren't even involved in the fight. All this noise is the sound of a regime that's literally losing ground. Trump summed up the moment in his own way. It's better to make a deal or there will be nothing left. Now, let's go back to the question from the beginning. What's in those 3 rocks that would make the Americans break a 50-year-old rule? The answer is that the islands are the last remaining piece of Iranian power over the Strait of Hormuz. The Navy sank. The ports are locked, the mountain is surrounded, only the land is left. These 25 square kilometers of rock and bunkers, which still make 7 out of every 8 ships obey Iran. If the 3 fall, Iran doesn't lose the strait for weeks. It loses it forever. Because a flag that goes up on an island doesn't come down with a missile. First, there was the sea. Then, the mountain. Now, the ground. That invasion order could come at any moment, and when it does, we'll be here to show you what really happened. So subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss this chapter. And before you leave, answer this in the comments. Do you think the American Marines will really land on the islands? Write what you think below. I'll read it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.